Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast this week. I'm so glad you're here. Um, I have something fun and new and exciting to share with you guys. So, I have created a quiz to find out where in your life you are most out of alignment, not to be confused with your spinal cord or your spine. No, no. Where are you most not living the authentic version of you? Where are you showing up that feels very different than kind of who you really are, or who you came here to be, or who you want to be? So I'm really excited about that. Grab it in the show notes if that's exciting for you too. It'll show you the most um, the place where you're most out of alignment. And I not only take you through the quick quiz of sharing and showing you where you're most out of alignment, but it'll kind of give you a little bit of an archetype of what kind of person are you as it relates to how you're living your life. Are you giving too much in your career? Are you giving too much at home? Are you giving too much in your friendships? Are you out in the world giving too much to, volunteering or something like that? So I give you this little outline of an archetype. And then I gave an extra push on this because I know a lot of quizzes are just like, okay, this is who you are. And it's just like, okay, what do I do with that? And I didn't want to be one of those quizzes. I wanted it to be something that might actually be helpful. So I give you a 7-day outline on what to do now that you have this information. So it's super fun and exciting. I love, love, love it. And I'd love for you to go check it out and let me know what you think. So link should be in show notes. Go grab that. Other than that, I don't really have a ton going on. And honestly, if this is the first time you're listening to this, you may not have also gotten my freebie where I kind of get you going on the process of honoring yourself, and also very in line with alignment and how to live a life that feels really great to you, how to appease and happiness. So that kind of just gives you my background, my story as it relates to how I started honoring myself and what does that look like? What does it really mean to honor yourself? Right. So if you have not grabbed that, go for that too. That's free in the show notes as well. Okay. So let's go ahead and get started. So what I want to talk about today is why purpose is important and 6 main functions of purpose that nobody's talking about. I think I got I might have 7, folks. I'm sorry. There might be 7. I think I wrote down 6, but I think there's 7 here. So the reason I wanted to talk about this is because if you're anything like me, you maybe have experienced in your early 20s, well, just generally in your 20s, maybe even in your 30s, you asked yourself a lot of questions about purpose. What's my purpose? What's my purpose? What am I here for? What am I doing? Because a lot of times what happens to us is we go through school, and maybe we don't go through school. Maybe we graduate from high school. Maybe we go into the military or something like that. Or maybe we start a family, or maybe we jump right into our career and we get a role. The point is, there's never a point in our lives than when we're kind of getting out of the proverbial nest of our parents, right? If we're lucky enough to have parents, most of us do. Or even if we don't have parents and we're moving away from, foster care or something like that. Basically, we're becoming an adult and getting out on our own. There's a predominant essence and urgency around figuring out what you want to do and making money doing it. And so there's a very narrowing of the view of much else in life. Now, there are exceptions, obviously. There are tons of people out there that their focus is purpose and enlightenment. And some people go on to be like monks or priests or, something like they just know because they feel called to something. And so they pursue this purpose concept versus somebody like me who I hit the ground running, right? Like it was nothing stopping me. It was like, boom, out the gates I go. I'm going to go make money. It was just like, okay, I'm out of college now. I need to get a job and I need to make money. That's the typical process. And again, I know there's exceptions, but that's a typical process. And so once we've gotten that kind of loop tied up and we're not so stressed about that whole space of making money and establishing yourself and becoming an adult, and now I need an apartment, I probably might need to get myself a car, I need to get off my parents' phone plans, like, you're right, like there's all this stuff that happens all at once. I'm losing all my friends that I went to school with, right? Life becomes very different. And so that's the time in life where you just kind of hit the gas and you start going. And then what happens is you pick your head up somewhere in the vicinity of like late 20s, early 30s, and you start really questioning, what's my purpose? Am I really doing what I'm supposed to be doing right now? And if you're anything like me and you did experience this, what ends up happening, at least it did for me, was I would be like, okay, what's my purpose? Forget it. Who cares? I just want to go to work. I just want to get a paycheck. I want to just live my life. Oh my gosh, what's my purpose? Who cares? I just want to get my paycheck and go home and live my life. What's my purpose? So it was like that cycled so many freaking times. And really, it didn't change much. It wasn't like I would ask that question, find some answers, say, forget it, go back to work and put my head down and do my job, and et cetera, et cetera. So there wasn't really much needle moving, if you will. Like, I didn't really move the needle on this, what's my purpose question. And so I spent a lot of time with that. And it would come into my view and then it would leave. And then it would come into my view and then it would leave. And so what ends up happening from there is we either make a choice. We either say, screw it, I'm sick of thinking about this, it's too hard to figure out, I'm just gonna hunker down in this career. And then we get about 45, 50, 55, and the end of life really starts coming into our view. And when the end of life really starts coming into view, we start thinking like, gee, it's my second half, right? Like, this is the second half of the play. And now I really need to decide, like, is this all I'm doing for the rest of my life? Am I going to just hunker down because this is what I've always done and I have no idea what else I would do? Who would even hire me for something different? What's the point of even exploring this? And my friend, I get it, because when you're kind of middle-aged, it can feel very overwhelming to think about changing anything, right? Because maybe your kids have gotten a little older, but now mom and dad are starting to get older. Again, if you're blessed enough to have parents still alive, mom and dad are starting to get older. You're working on their elderly care. Your kids might be starting to go to college, and it's like, okay, now I got to pay for that. So there's a lot of life still that's swirling around you that matters and makes a big difference of whether or not you feel like you have permission to go out and pursue something that's for you, aka honoring yourself, right? That's what this podcast is about, for those of you who haven't noticed. Okay, and so with that, I like to offer a couple things, because the whole title of this podcast is, why is purpose even important? And the reason I wanted to do this, the reason I was inspired to do this podcast, is because I think sometimes, again, it comes into our view, it leaves. It comes into our view, it leaves. It comes into our view, it leaves. Or sometimes we know what our purpose is. Like I hear a lot of parents like, well, my purpose is taking care of my kids, period. Cool. But then when the kids get older, it's like, uh-oh, where'd my purpose go, right? Especially if the kid is very independent or the kid doesn't want anything to do with you. Hello, teenagers. There's a lot going on between the time of my purpose is to feed this baby, keep it alive, love it, teach it things, let it become a good human, and then put it out to the world, right? I shouldn't say it, he or she. Anyway, so I wanted to talk about this because it is so important to understand purpose. And if you are a person who have been in and out with it, you've dated it for a little while, then you gave up on it, and then you dated it for a little while, then you gave up on it, I want you to really, truly understand the importance of purpose, okay? First and foremost, I wish I actually would have gathered up the facts and figures around this. Sorry. I wish I would have gotten the facts and figures around this. I did not, so I apologize, but I'm not a facts and figures kind of gal. I hear something, I go, wow, that's super cool and interesting. Sometimes I'll look into it and make sure it's actually true. A lot of times I will. So I'm not spreading rumors. But there was a study done, and the study suggests that people have the best longevity in a place where they don't retire. Now, before you're excited about your retirement, I want you to hang on for a second. I don't think that this translates into retirement, meaning like, let's just say someone's a CEO and they never stop becoming a CEO till the day they die. No, not the point. The point is they stay engaged in purposeful work. That could be volunteering. That could be working somewhere where they get to just welcome somebody into the room and with a big smile on their face. That could mean they start writing or publishing books, or, it doesn't necessarily mean they continue to do the same thing they've always done, but they just really don't disengage from having a purposeful life. In places where they do, where all anybody ever wants is to retire, that actually has the opposite effect. Longevity goes down. Okay, so I wanted to just share that with you, because if you don't believe the words that are coming out of my mouth, at least maybe that little fact and figure will help you naysayers who think purpose doesn't matter. Something tells me purpose does matter to you, though, if you've gotten this far and you even clicked on this podcast, because the title is about purpose. But I want to instill in you the importance of purpose, because there's like major functions of purpose that people just aren't really talking about. And I think people just sort of interpret, if I have purpose, then maybe I'm happy. Or if I have purpose, maybe I'll even make more money, right? Like, I think there's certain things about purpose that get a little muddy watered, a little misconstrued, if you will. So let me start ripping through these, okay? So purpose allows you to not get distracted with unimportant details or unimportant situations that would otherwise be upsetting or disruptive or kind of knock you off where you're going. And a really good visual about this, or example of this, is, let's just say you're a high-powered politician or a high-powered corporate person, like a CEO or something, or for you parents out there, let's just say, like, I'll give the example of a parent for a second, but let me just stay with a high-powered thing for a second. Let's just say that you are that person and you're in downtown Manhattan and you have got a meeting you've got to get to. Let's just say it's 1:15 and your meeting starts in 15 minutes and you're just leaving a lunch with a client and you've got to get to this really important meeting, because if you don't, it'll be upsetting to someone else, right? So you got to get to this really important meeting. So you bust out of the lunchroom and you start heading to your office to make sure you make this meeting that is really, really important. And someone stops you on the street and is like wanting to have a slow, calm, pointless, doesn't have anything to do with you kind of conversation. What would you do, right? You are on a mission. You have a purpose. You've got to get to that office. It's urgent. It's time sensitive, all the things. So what are you going to do? I'm so sorry, sir or ma'am, I cannot speak to you right now. I've got a really important meeting to go to, right? So purpose is that kind of analogy. Purpose gives you urgency. It has time sensitivities to it. It propels you forward, but mostly, beautifully, it gets distractions out of your way and doesn't suck you into pointless things, right? Like, if you have true purpose, if you have a true North Star, you're not going to let pettiness, the local gossiping, someone cutting you off in traffic. Although I got cut off the other day, I got pretty pissed. I came home telling my husband about it, and he's like, I don't want to ever hear you bust on me for getting mad when I'm driving, having road rage. But I will tell you this, what did happen was I snapped out of it quick, a lot quicker than I ever have. I snapped out of it quickly. So that's the other thing, is like, it brings you back to earth quicker than if you didn't have purpose. You get so focused on that. A really great example of this too, if I wanted to go the parent route, right? Let's just say you just found out that your child fell off the monkey bars at work and is at the nurse's office having a fit, probably broke their arm. What are you doing? You are busting out of your office. You are leaving your house. You are on your way to go get your child and take them to the doctor. There's not going to be a lot that's going to stand in your way of going and getting your child, right? So you have purpose, you have urgency, you have time sensitivity. And this is what purpose provides us, right? Purpose provides us with a lack of distraction from pointless things or petty things that just bog us down, that are meaningless. I'll give you another great example. Recently, some of you know this story, I just got my car towed. I accidentally, and I say accidentally because true to gosh, it was an accident. I accidentally parked on someone's lawn. And the woman who lived in the house got my car towed because I was on the lawn, and you guys who are just listening aren't going to be able to see me, but I was, well, I could probably say what this measurement is. I was probably a foot and a half on her lawn, a little bit. But she was very upset because she had just had her lawn seeded and blah, 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 blah. So she had me towed. $250 later, I got my car back. But my point is, I bet that woman doesn't have a lot of purpose in her life right now. If what is most important to her is her lawn and getting me towed off it, I have a hard time believing she doesn't have much else to focus on. And actually, since it's happened, because I was in a different neighborhood, I was meeting my friend at her house, and my friend told me that some of the neighbors have said that she has talked about it since then, like she's ruminating on it. So I have a hard time believing she has much purpose in life right now, when what she's upset about is her lawn and getting me towed, right? So purpose allows for you to not get distracted with unimportant details or unimportant situations that would otherwise be upsetting, distracting, suck you into nothingness, pointlessness, and then you go to bed at night being like, what did I even do today, right? Okay, so that's number one. Number two is the true definition of purpose allows for pivoting and changing your mind and being flexible in what it is you came here to do, meaning purpose gives you permission to pivot, to move, to bend. It makes you more malleable. It makes you more flexible. And the reason I say this is because if you've ever heard me ever talk, you know that I say over and over and over again that purpose is fulfilling your soul's desires, okay? So if the idea is to always have this understanding that I am here to express what my soul wants and express my soul's desires, then you know that this is probably going to change over time. Like, if your soul just wants to do one thing over and over and over again for the rest of its life, day in and day out, and never change a single thing, no new hobbies, no new relationships, no new anything, I don't know. I've never met anybody like that, because souls are dynamic. Souls are unique. Souls are here to be expressed. Souls are here to become who they came here to be. And so there's no way purpose is just going to ever be one thing. And so let's just say you went to school or went to college to become a doctor, and then you're a doctor for 10, 15 years, and you're like, your soul's like, yeah, I don't love this anymore. I want to do something different. Then you have that permission to say, well, if I'm here on earth and my purpose is fulfilling my soul's desires and I'm going to stick to my purpose, I have permission to go and do that, to change it. Okay? So it gives you a lot of permission. Purpose also frees you from the shame and guilt of honoring yourself. And what I mean by that, and again, if you've never listened to me, you know, well, you don't know actually. If you've ever listened to me, you know that the way I explain honoring yourself is recognizing, respecting, and responding to your emotional, physical, mental, and spiritual needs without abandoning yourself, despite external pressures or societal norms. Okay. So if purpose then gives you and frees you from the shame and guilt of honoring yourself, right? Again, if you're hyper focused on your soul and your soul's desires and becoming who you came here to be, it's going to remove that shame and guilt of wanting things in life for the sake of fulfilling your soul's desires, aka fulfilling your purpose. Okay? So it really gives you this ability to be free from shame and guilt of honoring yourself, right? Fourth one, purpose allows you to live up to your true potential, because if every day you understand that your only job is to understand and take in the depth of which your soul came here to experience life and do it, or that idea snaps you out of the regular day-to-day boring stuff, right? So purpose, if lost and non-existent, can tend to lead us to these like sort of mundane lives where we're not really fulfilling our potential, because we're just like, you know what, I'm comfortable. I go to work, I pick up the kids, I come home, I make dinner, I watch Netflix, I go to bed, I do it again, and I do it again, and I do it again. And on Saturday mornings, we go to soccer practice, we come home, we have lunch, we do it again, right? So if you understand the true meaning of purpose, and you understand the true idea of what that even really means at like even the most spiritual level, you understand that purpose can show you that actually you have like infinite potential while you're here. Like, you know, you can really go for it in life, knowing that. And knowing this in particular will snap you out of that mundane day in and day out. Now listen, I quite value boring sometimes, and I believe I live a bit of a boring life. I don't think my soul likes chaos. And so I do kind of like the boring life. I mega appreciate my days in and my days out and my regularity, and my husband calling me after work. And, you know, he's called me after work every single day, I think since the day we started dating, which is crazy. I bet he's missed 10 full days in the 20 something years that we've been together. I would doubt if, I'd be shocked if it was even 10, to be honest with you. And there's something really beautiful about that. You know, my friend, God rest her soul, died of cancer. And I distinctly remember her saying, you know, gosh, I wish I could just do the most boring shit. I miss the boring stuff. You know, just the fact that I could brush my teeth without getting tired and go out with friends and laugh or do laundry. And so it really makes you grateful for kind of the boring, mundane stuff. However, I also don't just sit in my house. I go out and I meet new people. I experience new things. I try new coffee shops. I go to new networking events. I try new things, like even this video stuff, right? Like, honestly, guys, like being on video has never been my favorite thing. But what if someday I'm like, I don't know, on TV, this will be good practice for it. I don't know, right? Or maybe I'll be on the radio someday. I don't know. But I'm going for it because my soul wants to. Another great example. There's a lot of people who hate being in front of other people. And I kind of thought I always was too. But last year, around this time actually, I had the opportunity to be on stage and I really loved it. Was I nervous? Of course I was nervous, but I was really, like my soul loved it. And so I'm trying to do more of that. So you see what I'm saying? Like, you will stagnate your full potential if you don't have purpose. Because if you don't have purpose, again, you're not connecting with your soul's desires and you're not even hearing them. You might even be numbing them. You might even be shushing them. You might even be like completely ignoring them, right? So not having purpose limits you to your full potential, okay? Number 5 is very similar to the ability to pivot and change. So number 5 I wrote down is, purpose allows you to become a different version over time. But the little difference on this is the version of you versus kind of like what you do. So the other one I was sort of talking more about like being able to pivot in your career or pivot where you live or pivot kind of relationship you currently have, like maybe you're married, maybe you're not married, etc. This is more about purpose allowing you to become a different version of you over time. And what do I mean by that? So what do I mean by that is like, if you're very stuck on a certain identity, you will kind of just be the same person at 25, at 30, at 40, at 50, at 60. Like you won't grow. You'll just be the same person, different day. And, I honestly just don't believe that's what we're here for. I believe that our soul comes here, wants to experience life so that it can correct past experiences, so that it can grow, so that it can like continue to learn and build upon itself. And you know what I mean? I just don't believe we are here to kind of just like be the same person we always have been, right? We are here to grow. We are here to learn. And so purpose allows for growth and understanding that the more you experience in life, the more you grow, even experiences that can be challenging, obviously. I mean, those are probably the ones we grow the most in. But this will show you a version of yourself that you didn't exist before any of that happened, right? So, if you're going through a tough time right now, like, don't get mad at me, but good, because that'll be another version of you. Whereas purpose, like, if you don't have the purpose, you don't have the understanding of purpose, then you cling to that other version of you. Why is this happening to me? You get so mad about something happening to you, and then you don't grow from it, because then you just have resentment and bitterness instead of like seeing it for what it is, instead of seeing it for the growth opportunity right in front of you. So instead of seeing the growth opportunity right in front of you, aka having purpose, you grow into this version of you that actually is bitter or angry or frustrated constantly, right? So it's really important to understand that one of the important points of purpose is that you continue to become a different version of you, because ultimately, like when you can connect with your soul and you can say, okay, that's what you want to do, and you give it a go, and you go through these cycles of giving it a go, letting it go, and then figuring out what you can do different the next time, and you keep doing that, and you keep doing that, and keep doing that, you just grow and grow in different versions of yourself. But if you're clinging to an identity, you'll never do that, right? You'll never grow. You won't become a different version of you. You'll always be the same version of you. And that's just really, I don't think, what we're here to do. So purpose really puts into play this idea that we grow and we experience things and we have different versions of ourselves. Number 6 that I have here is purpose also keeps you open to where life might want to take you, hearing new messages or messages that are meant for you to hear from the universe, from the divine power. It also keeps you open to the possibility of change when your ego wants to be closed off to it because that's threatening and dangerous. It's kind of similar to what I just said on the previous one, right? So purpose keeps you open. So if you have the idea that which I do is that purpose equals your fulfilling your soul's desires, and if we then say your soul is connected to the divine, then we can stay open to it, right? Like open our heart, versus if we're so stuck on something, nope, I'm living here, I'm doing this, I'm having 2 kids, and then I'm gonna, like when we get into this like squished version of ourselves where it's just like, nope, my plan is to graduate from high school, go to college, marry my future spouse, then marry them when I graduate, then get a job, do that job for 40 years, have 2 kids, and then retire. I'm telling you, like, you are squishing yourself so much, it's like kind of sad, right? Whereas we stay open to the possibilities, we're almost kind of shocked what might happen, right? But the mind will be like, that's not safe, that's not my identity. The ego says, no ma'am, I want to be hung on to this identity because that identity keeps me safe. That identity helps me function day to day. That identity allows me to understand what's coming next. Versus if we trust and we understand what's there for us, we stay open. Our heart opens up, possibilities open up. We have ability to kind of understand like what's coming from the divine and setting into ourselves. And we go, okay, I have the direction, right? But that's if you have purpose. Lastly, the last one I want to talk about is well, it's kind of wraps up the rest of them, honestly. Purpose gets us out of getting stuck into old behaviors and patterns. And I feel like I've sprinkled this into a significant portion of them, right? Because again, if purpose equals fulfilling our soul's desires, then that is going to just kind of dance for our whole lives, right? Like that's going to be an idea that we dance with our whole lives. And certainly getting stuck doing the same thing every single stinking day and never trying anything new, never being open to the possibilities is certainly going to make us just get stuck in the mud, old behaviors and old patterns and never growing, right? So I hope you've really enjoyed this. I know I enjoyed talking about this. And I think it's really important to discuss the functions of purpose instead of this like kind of arbitrary or esoteric idea that just sits out in la la land, and we're like kind of conditioned to some degree to believe that we should have a purpose. And so that we spend a significant amount of our time worrying and wondering, what's my purpose? What's my purpose? And then we give up. And then what's my purpose? And then we give up. And then what's my purpose? What's my purpose? And then we give up. And then there's this like cycle that churns and churns and churns, never really feeling like we can settle. You know, my mom used to tell me, she's like, I would just churn and churn and churn. And she said, and then I finally I just needed to feel settled, you know. And it was when she actually allowed herself and gave herself the permission to honor herself. By the way, I have a podcast with her if you want to check it out and hear her story. It's really cool. But my mom gave herself the permission to honor herself because she had really put a lot of people before her. I mean, she had children at really young age, so she put a lot of people before her. And so when she started honoring herself, then she had she was settled down, like she had more of a peace to her, right? Instead of this churning and churning and churning and churning, right? So, you know, I should have probably added this to the list, but purpose can really put aloe on chaos too. Because if we got that churn, then we might try to create like fake scenarios in our lives or instigate things that don't need to be instigated just to feel something or just to feel like we have purpose. But in reality, the purpose is fulfilling your soul's desires. And the way you do that is you hear yourself through emotions. And then when you can tend to those emotions and start doing the work and building that relationship with yourself, then it becomes a lot clearer that what your purpose is and how to fulfill your soul's desires. Okay? So guys, if you've enjoyed this podcast, I'd really appreciate it if you'd send it to someone else who's been noodling on purpose, or maybe not. Maybe you just know they need to hear a conversation about purpose. And as always, I'd love for you to go snag a review, give me a star. That helps the podcast. You know what I'm saying? All right, guys, till next time. Bye.